What happens when one of Hollywood's most fearless actors completely unravels during a live television broadcast? What happens when the calm, polished mask slips away and the audience sees raw fury explode right in front of them? You're about to witness the shocking truth. Because Tom Hardy didn't just give an interview on The View, he gave the world a meltdown that will be remembered for years. This wasn't an awkward moment or a minor clash. It was an eruption so intense that producers panicked, security rushed forward, and millions of viewers were left stunned by what they saw on their screens. Before we dive into the video, please like and subscribe and comment. Now let's get back to the video. This was supposed to be routine Hollywood promotion, the kind of 10-minute slot actors breeze through on autopilot. Tom Hardy's appearance should have been smooth, predictable, and even boring. Just another checkmark on the endless press tour calendar. But instead, it spiraled into chaos that no one in the studio or watching at home could have prepared for. The morning began with the usual polished energy. Producers were running their checklists, cameras being adjusted, crew members buzzing around like they'd done 1,000 times before. The hosts of The View had their notes in hand, ready to welcome another celebrity to their round table. Joy Behar, sharp-tongued and always prepared, had a stack of carefully researched questions about Hardy's latest project, his craft, and maybe a few lighthearted topics to charm the audience. Everything looked like business as usual until Hardy walked in. From the moment he entered the studio, people sensed something was off. Makeup artists whispered later that he was unusually tense, brushing off small talk and snapping out curt replies to the simplest of questions. The easy banter most stars exchange with the crew never happened. Instead, Hardy carried a storm with him, a kind of dark, brooding energy that immediately put everyone on edge. Even before the cameras rolled, something felt different, as if a ticking clock had started the countdown to an explosion. Then, the moment came. The red light blinked on, signaling to millions that the show was live. Joy Behar beamed at the camera, her smile warm, her tone inviting. "Tom, welcome to The View. We're so excited to have you here to talk about your new film." It should have been the easiest line of the day, but Hardy's response sent shockwaves through the room. "Are we really going to pretend this is about the film, Joy?" he snapped, his tone sharp enough to cut the air. "Because I've seen your show and I know exactly what this is about." The studio froze. The other hosts glanced at each other in disbelief, their smiles faltering as they realized Hardy wasn't here to play along. Behar, keeping her composure, tried to pull the moment back to safer ground. She assured him that they wanted to hear about his project, that their viewers loved to get to know the person behind the performance. But Hardy wasn't convinced, not even close. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with suspicion, and repeated her words with disdain. "Engaging television? Is that what you call it when you ambush guests with personal questions? When you dig into their private lives for ratings?" Gasps rippled through the audience. Behar, visibly thrown but still holding steady, calmly explained that no personal questions had even been asked yet. "Don't play dumb with me," Hardy shot back, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "I know you've been digging into my personal life, my family, my relationships, and I won't sit here and let you use me for entertainment." Suddenly, the audience wasn't watching a typical talk show. They were witnessing a star unravel live, and the tension was unbearable. Cameras shifted uneasily as Hardy's anger escalated. Whoopi Goldberg raised her eyebrows, clearly uncertain if she should step in or stay silent. The crew at the edges of the set were fidgeting, sensing they might have to jump in if things got worse. Behar reassured him again that nothing invasive was planned, insisting producers had sent only standard questions to his publicist. But Hardy wasn't buying it. His laugh was sharp, bitter, and loud enough to make some audience members flinch. "Standard topics? Really?" Hardy sneered. "What's standard about asking me about rehab from 15 years ago? What's standard about bringing up sealed custody battles?" His accusations shocked everyone, especially because Behar appeared genuinely confused. She turned toward the producers, shaking her head. "Tom, those topics aren't on our list," she said firmly. "I don't know where you're getting this from. But that was never our plan. The audience leaned in, hanging on every word. This wasn't entertainment anymore, it was confrontation. Hardy's reply was icy and direct. Liar. The word hung in the air like a thunderclap. Behar's face shifted, a mix of disbelief and irritation, while the audience sat frozen, witnessing an unprecedented breakdown. Hardy slammed them as parasites chasing drama, accusing them of smiling in people's faces while secretly digging for dirt. And then he delivered the dagger. Well, congratulations, Joy. You've got your drama today. The set had transformed from a talk show stage into a battlefield. The crowd, who minutes earlier had been eager to see their favorite star, now sat in silence, eyes wide, phones slipping from their hands as they realized they were part of a moment that would be replayed and dissected endlessly. What began as an ordinary interview was already spiraling toward something shocking, and this was only the beginning of Hardy's on-air detonation. Joy Behar, still clinging to professionalism, took a slow breath and tried to redirect the moment. Her voice stayed steady, but her hands gripped the table tightly. Tom, I think there's been some kind of miscommunication. Let's step back and talk about your film, your character, what drew you to the role. That's why you're here. But Hardy wasn't letting go. He leaned in, his presence overwhelming, and practically growled, "Miscommunication? That's rich, Joy. Your whole career has been built on so-called miscommunications, convenient slip-ups that make your guests look bad and your ratings go up." The studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some whispered to each other in disbelief. Others just stared, wide-eyed, as Hardy tore into the host without restraint. For the first time, Behar's composure started to crack. Her smile faded and her voice hardened. "That's not fair, Tom. I've been doing this for decades. I've always treated guests with respect. Whatever's going on with you today, this hostility is completely uncalled for." That was the spark that lit the powder keg. Hardy shot to his feet, his chair scraping loudly against the floor, making the audience jump. "Uncalled for?" he thundered. "You want to talk about uncalled for? How about inviting me under false pretenses? How about pretending this is about my work when it's really about ratings? How about using people's pain for your cheap television circus?" The atmosphere had shifted entirely now. This wasn't an interview. It was a confrontation spiraling out of control. Security at the edges of the studio tensed, waiting for the signal to step in. But Behar, furious and unwilling to back down, stood up as well. "Sit down, Tom," she snapped. "You're making a scene over absolutely nothing. We brought you here to promote your work in good faith, and you're turning it into a conspiracy theory." The word "good faith" seemed to send Hardy over the edge. His voice boomed, echoing across the set. "Good faith? There's nothing good about what you do here, Joy. You tear people down for entertainment. You exploit vulnerabilities for profit. You're everything wrong with this industry, and I'm done staying silent." The other hosts looked panicked now, unsure how to react. Whoopi Goldberg, trying to calm the storm, finally interjected. "Tom, we need to cool this down. Whatever issues you think you have with Joy, this isn't the way to handle it. You're on live television with an audience sitting right here. This is going too far." Hardy swung toward her, his eyes blazing. "Too far? You want to talk about disrespect, Whoopi? How about the way you and Joy gang up on people you don't agree with? How about the way you sit here and push your agenda while pretending it's just conversation?" The tension spiked higher. Goldberg, never one to back down, fired back firmly. "That's completely out of line. We bring on guests from all different backgrounds, Tom. We're fair. You may not like tough questions, but don't twist this into some grand attack." The word "twist" made Hardy's face tighten in rage. He slammed his hand down on the table so hard that glasses and mugs rattled, spilling water and coffee across the set. The audience gasped in unison as Hardy roared, "Twist? This isn't twisting. This is the truth. You're parasites feeding on people's misery and calling it television." The studio was electric with fear and fascination. Behar, finally snapping after years of experience keeping her cool, shouted back, "You know what, Tom? I've interviewed thousands of people, and never, not once, has anyone acted this unhinged on my show. You want to call us exploiters? Look at yourself. You're turning this appearance into a spectacle, humiliating yourself in front of the world. Hardy's laugh echoed, cold and hollow. Humiliating myself? At least I'm showing my true self. At least I'm not hiding behind fake concern while destroying lives for a paycheck. You want to talk about demons, Joy? Yours aren't hidden. They're broadcast every single morning. Sarah Haynes, clearly desperate to calm the storm, raised her hand slightly, her voice shaky but measured. Tom, maybe we can restart. Maybe there's been confusion. Why don't we step back and try a different approach? Hardy spun toward her like lightning, his voice sharp enough to cut through the silence. Restart? There's no restarting this, Sarah. This is who you are, all of you, smiling faces covering sharp knives. His words made the entire audience shift in their seats, the tension in the room so thick it was suffocating. Behar's patience snapped entirely. She stood tall, facing Hardy head-on, her voice shaking with fury. You want to talk about masks? You're the one unraveling on live television. You're the one exposing himself as unstable and unprofessional. You're the one showing your true colors. And they're ugly, Tom, Hardy sneered, his voice dripping with venom. Ugly? At least my colors are real. At least I don't hide behind fake sympathy to manipulate people for views. The audience was frozen, torn between fear and fascination. Some nervously laughed, others whispered to their neighbors. A few even raised their phones, recording what would surely become viral footage replayed around the world. This was no longer a television interview. It was a bomb going off in slow motion. Behar's voice cracked with fury now. You want to accuse us of exploitation, Tom? Look at what you're doing. You're hijacking this show for your breakdown. You're using our stage to have some twisted public therapy session. Hardy leaned closer, his voice a dangerous hiss. Breakdown? You think this is a breakdown? No, Joy. This is exposure. This is what happens when someone finally calls you out for the fraud you are. By now, producers were frantically gesturing off camera. Security was moving closer, though hesitant to physically touch such a high-profile star. The other hosts exchanged desperate looks, silently begging someone to intervene before this spiraled into total chaos. And then, Hardy delivered the line that pushed the entire confrontation into dangerous territory. His eyes narrowed, his voice sharp and cold. This isn't your set, Joy. You think you run this place, but you don't. You're a pawn, a puppet, and when the people who really run this network see this footage, your career will be the one in flames, not mine. The audience gasped audibly, some covering their mouths in shock. Behar's face went pale, for the first time truly shaken. She stammered, "Are you threatening me?" Hardy's lips curled into a chilling smile. "I'm not threatening anyone. I'm telling the truth. Careers can end in an instant, and yours just might." The studio felt like it was holding its breath, every second stretching like an eternity. Security hovered closer, waiting for a clear order, but Hardy wasn't finished, not by a long shot. His voice dropped to a near whisper, somehow more menacing than all his previous shouting. "You call this entertainment? You call this journalism? No, this is just a circus, and you're the ringleaders cracking the whip." Behar, her patience completely gone, fired back with fury. "You're the one turning this into a circus, Tom. We gave you a chance to promote your work, and you've turned it into a rant. You're embarrassing yourself and destroying your reputation." Hardy's eyes narrowed, and a dangerous calm settled over him. "Destroying my reputation? My reputation is built on chaos. People expect volatility from me, but your entire career is built on control, on pretending you're respectable. And right now, millions are seeing you lose control for the first time." Whoopi Goldberg tried one last time to rein him in, her voice sharp and commanding. "Tom, enough! This is live television, and you are crossing lines you can't come back from." Hardy turned to her with a glare that froze the air. "Crossing lines? No, Whoopi. I'm erasing them. And when this footage goes out, it won't just be about me, it'll expose all of you for what you really are. Parasites, manipulators, frauds." The words hit like gunfire. The The audience gasped, some even getting up from their seats, unsure if they were safe, sitting so close to a man unraveling before their eyes. Security finally moved in, but Hardy held his ground, his voice booming one last time. You think you own this stage? You think you own the narrative? Not anymore. This isn't the end of my career. It's the beginning of yours unraveling. Behar, shaking with rage, screamed back, "Get him out of here!" Now, two guards stepped forward, placing their hands on Hardy's arms, but he twisted enough to deliver one final, chilling shot as the cameras kept rolling. This isn't over, Joy. This clip will live forever, and when the world sees what you people really are, don't be surprised when the empire you built comes crashing down. The silence that followed was suffocating. The hosts sat stunned, the audience stunned, and millions watching at home left with one haunting thought. Had Tom Hardy just ended more than his own career? Had he detonated a bomb under theirs too? And that's the story that left Hollywood and live television shaken. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think really pushed Tom Hardy over the edge? Was this just a bad day? Or was he exposing something deeper about the industry? Comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss another shocking story.